The Crystal Crown Hotel was known for its elegant guests who never looked twice at the staff. Among them was Elena, a shy waitress who moved like a whisper through the crowded dining hall. She kept her head low, her voice softer than the clinking glasses she carried. Elena had learned long ago that silence was safer. She had grown up with a deaf father. From the age of 5, she spoke 2 languages, one with her voice and one with her hands. Sign language was not just communication for her, it was love shaped into movement. But here, at the hotel, no one knew that. They only saw a timid girl who blushed when spoken to and avoided eye contact. That evening, the entire staff buzzed with excitement. The hotel's biggest investor was arriving, Daniel Whitmore, the youngest billionaire in the city. Self-made, ruthless in business, untouchable in reputation, and he was bringing his mother. "Be careful," the manager whispered sharply. "They expect perfection." Elena nodded and picked up her tray. When Daniel entered, the room shifted. Expensive suit, calm authority, eyes that scanned everything and revealed nothing. Beside him walked an elegant older woman with silver hair and kind but distant eyes. They were escorted to the private dining section. Elena's manager pointed directly at her. "You, take their table." Her heart pounded. She approached carefully, hands trembling slightly as she placed the menus down. "Good evening, sir," she said softly. Daniel gave a curt nod. "Water for now," but his mother didn't respond. She only watched Elena closely. Elena felt it immediately, the stillness. The awareness. The silence that wasn't emptiness but difference. She glanced again at the older woman and saw the small hearing device tucked behind her ear. And the way she looked at lips instead of eyes. Elena's breath caught. Carefully, hesitantly, she moved her hands. "Good evening," she signed gently. "Would you like sparkling or still water?" The billionaire's mother froze. Her eyes widened. Daniel looked confused. "What are you doing?" But his mother lifted her hands, slightly shaky. "You know sign language," she signed back. Elena nodded, her confidence growing with each motion. "Yes, my father is deaf." The older woman's lips trembled into a smile, slow and disbelieving. For the first time since they had entered, she laughed. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Daniel watched, stunned. His mother hadn't laughed in public in years. She usually endured dinners politely, tired of pretending she could follow conversations she couldn't fully hear. Yet now she was alive, animated, signing quickly, asking Elena questions. "What is your name? How long have you worked here? Do you enjoy it?" Elena answered every question with grace. Other guests began to stare. Some staff whispered, "She's doing weird hand movements." Is that allowed? But Elena didn't stop, and neither did Daniel's mother. At one point, the older woman reached for Elena's hand and squeezed it warmly. Daniel cleared his throat. "Mother, should we order?" She turned to him and signed sharply, her expression changing. "You never told me she worked here." Daniel blinked. "I didn't know." His mother looked back at Elena and signed something slower, softer. "Stay, please." Elena felt tears threatening to rise. No one had ever asked her to stay. She stayed through the meal, translating the menu, explaining dishes, even joking gently. The once stiff dinner turned into something almost intimate. When dessert arrived, Daniel leaned back in his chair, studying her carefully. "You're different," he said quietly. Elena lowered her gaze. "I'm just doing my job, sir." He looked at his mother again, who was now signing a story about her childhood, laughing softly. He hadn't seen her like this since his father passed away. When the dinner ended, Daniel stood. The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath. He turned to Elena. "My mother hasn't enjoyed a public evening in over a decade," he said. Tonight, she did. Elena swallowed hard. "I'm glad." His mother signed something slowly to her. Elena's eyes widened. "You must visit me." Daniel frowned slightly. "Mother." She signed again, more firmly. And then something that made Elena freeze. "I want her to work for me." The entire staff went silent. Elena shook her head quickly. "Oh, I couldn't." Daniel's eyes sharpened. "Why not?" I need this job." His mother reached into her purse and pulled out a small card. She wrote something on it and handed it to Elena. It was her private address. And below it, 3 words. "Please don't disappear." Daniel looked between them. For the first time in years, he saw something fragile in his mother's expression. Hope. He turned back to Elena. "Come tomorrow," he said firmly. "Just to talk." Elena stood there long after they left, card trembling in her hand. She didn't know that the next day would change not only her life, but his as well. Elena stood outside the iron gates of the Whitmore estate with trembling hands. The card felt heavier than paper should feel. She almost turned back twice. This wasn't her world. She was a waitress who counted tips to pay rent. He was a billionaire whose name appeared in business magazines. Their lives were not meant to intersect. But then she remembered the way his mother's fingers had tightened around hers. Please don't disappear. So she pressed the intercom. The gates opened smoothly. The driveway curved through manicured gardens that looked untouched by wind or time. The house rose in quiet elegance, not loud, not flashy, just powerful. The door opened before she could knock. Daniel stood there. No tailored suit, no cold expression, just a simple dark sweater and sleeves rolled slightly at the forearms. You came, he said, almost as if he hadn't been sure she would. I said I would, Elena replied softly. He stepped aside. The interior surprised her. She expected something grand and impersonal. Instead, it felt lived in. Framed photographs lined the walls. In many of them, a younger Daniel stood beside his mother, both smiling widely. There were beach photos, birthday cakes, one picture where she held his face proudly. Elena paused at that one. He noticed. That was before my father passed, he said quietly. Before she could respond, she saw movement at the top of the staircase. Daniel's mother stood there, hands gripping the railing. The moment her eyes landed on Elena, her face lit up in a way that erased 20 years. She descended quickly, faster than Daniel seemed comfortable with. Elena instinctively stepped forward to meet her. You came back, the older woman signed immediately, her fingers moving with emotion. I promised, Elena signed back gently. Daniel watched, silent. There was something different about seeing it in his own home. In the restaurant, it had been impressive. Here, it was intimate. His mother guided Elena to the sitting room. Sunlight poured through tall windows. Tea was already set. The older woman didn't waste time. I have thought about nothing else since last night, she signed. Elena felt her pulse quicken. I don't need a nurse. I don't need someone to manage me. I need someone who sees me. Daniel shifted slightly. Mother. She turned to him sharply and signed with deliberate clarity so he would understand every word. I am tired of smiling politely while pretending I follow conversations. The words struck harder than shouting ever could. Daniel's jaw tightened. I always provide interpreters, he said defensively. Yes, she signed. But they speak for me. Not with me. Silence filled the room. Elena looked between them, suddenly aware she stood in the middle of something much bigger than a job offer. The older woman faced Elena again. I want to hire you as my personal companion. Not as staff, as presence. Elena swallowed. I don't know if I belong here. Daniel spoke calmly. You belong wherever you choose to stand. She looked at him, surprised by the softness in his voice. His mother reached for Elena's hand again. You are not intimidated by silence, she signed. Most people are. Elena felt her throat tighten. My father used to say silence is only empty if you don't know how to listen. The older woman smiled slowly. Daniel looked at Elena more carefully now. You grew up signing. Yes. My father lost his hearing when I was very young. My mother left when I was 6. It was just us. Daniel absorbed that quietly. His mother signed something slower now. I used to read Daniel bedtime stories by tracing words into his palm when he was small. Daniel froze. You never told me that, he said. She looked at him, startled. You were 4. He looked down. I don't remember. A silence fell, thick, heavy. Elena saw it then. The distance between them wasn't about hearing. It was about time. Daniel stood and walked toward the window, hands in his pockets. I built companies from scratch, he said, staring outside. I negotiate with people who try to outsmart me daily. But I can't speak to my own mother without someone in between. His voice cracked slightly at the end. Elena felt the weight of that confession. He turned around slowly. Will you teach me? The room stilled. His mother stopped breathing for a moment. Teach you what? Elena asked gently. Everything, he said. Properly. Not the half-forgotten basics I learned as a kid. His mother's hands trembled. You are busy, she signed to him carefully. I'll make time. You always say that. I mean it this time. Elena saw something breaking open between them, old misunderstandings cracking under the surface. She nodded. I'll teach you, she said. Daniel stepped closer to his mother. Awkwardly, clumsily, he lifted his hands. His movements were stiff, slow, imperfect. I'm sorry, he signed. The motion was not smooth, but it was honest. His mother stared at him as if seeing him clearly for the first time in years. Tears filled her eyes. She stepped forward and touched his face. "I know," she signed back. That was the moment Elena looked away, giving them privacy. But she couldn't stop her own tears. Because she understood something deeply. Sometimes love is present the entire time. It's just untranslated. The lessons began the next morning. Daniel cleared 2 hours in his schedule daily. Assistants were told not to interrupt unless it was urgent. At first, he was frustrated. His fingers moved too slowly. He confused shapes. He forgot grammar rules unique to sign language. "It's not just hands," Elena explained patiently. "It's expression, it's posture, it's intention." He tried again. His mother sat across from him, watching like someone witnessing a miracle unfold. Day after day, he improved. He canceled late-night meetings. He skipped networking events. Headlines still called him ruthless, brilliant, strategic. But inside the house, he was a student again. One evening, a month later, something unexpected happened. They were sitting at dinner, just the three of them. No interpreter, no assistant. His mother signed a full story about her childhood home, about a mango tree in the yard and how she once fell trying to climb it. Daniel laughed, not politely, not because someone translated it for him. He laughed because he understood it himself. Elena watched quietly. Then his mother signed directly to him. "Why did you stop talking to me?" Daniel froze. The air changed. He hesitated before responding. "I thought you were strong," he signed slowly. "I thought you didn't need me hovering." Her eyes softened. "I didn't need hovering. I needed presence." His hands lowered. "I was afraid," he admitted. "After Dad died, I didn't know how to fill that silence." She reached across the table and placed her hand over his. "You don't fill silence," she signed. "You share it." He inhaled sharply. And that was when the tears came. Not dramatic, not loud, just quiet, steady emotion. Elena stood discreetly, intending to give them space. But his mother signed to her quickly. "Stay." Daniel looked at Elena. "You're part of this now," he said. Months passed. The house transformed. Music sometimes played, not because his mother could hear it clearly, but because Daniel learned to feel rhythm with her through vibrations. They developed inside jokes in sign language. They argued. They debated. They existed fully. One evening, Daniel hosted a formal dinner at the estate. Business partners, investors, media figures. The dining hall glowed with elegance. Elena stood near the back, unsure of her place. Daniel approached her before guests arrived. "You're sitting at the table," he said. "I'm staff. Your family." His mother signed firmly from across the room. Elena's heart nearly stopped. During dinner, one guest attempted to speak to Daniel about his mother in third person. She must find events like this difficult. Daniel calmly raised his hand. "She can speak for herself," he said. Then he turned to his mother and signed the guest's comment. She responded confidently, hands fluid and expressive. The table fell silent, not from discomfort, but from awe. Daniel didn't translate unless she asked. She owned her voice, and everyone listened. After the guests left, Daniel stepped onto the terrace for air. Elena followed quietly. "You didn't have to defend her like that," she said. He looked at her. "Yes, I did." He paused. "You didn't just teach me a language," he added. "You showed me what I was missing." She shook her head. "You chose to learn." He smiled faintly. "You know," he said, "for years I thought providing everything meant loving correctly. And now I know love isn't provision. It's participation." Inside, his mother watched them from the window, hands folded gently, eyes bright. For the first time since losing her husband, she did not feel like a shadow in her own life. She felt heard, understood, connected. And Elena, once the shy waitress who moved like a whisper through crowded rooms, stood taller now. Not because she married wealth. Not because she escaped struggle. But because she bridged a silence that money never could. In the end, the reaction that left everyone in tears wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was simple. A son learning to speak to his mother again. And a quiet girl who reminded them both that sometimes the most powerful voice is the one shaped by hands,